Thank you for joining me today. My name is Ken Raggio, and today's Bible study is in the book of 2 Kings, chapters 17 to 20. The timeline on the nation of Israel ended sooner than the timeline on the nation of Judah. The northern kingdom ended under King Hoshea. It never had a righteous king after Solomon, so God was eventually forced to send the northern kingdom into judgment. Israel began to go into Assyrian captivity in the days of King Pekah. He was assassinated by Hoshea, who was king when the northern kingdom finally ended. For 328 years, from Saul in the year 1050 BC to Hoshea 722 BC, the prophets had been warning Israel against their sins. In 2 Kings 17:6 says, In the ninth year of Hoshea, the king of Assyria took Samaria and carried Israel away into Assyria. I just want to remind you that God works by the prophets. We owe it to ourselves to contemplate God's modus operandi. The Lord testified against Israel and against Judah by all the prophets and by all the seers, saying, Turn ye from your evil ways and keep my commandments and my statutes. You can run from God if you want to, but you can't hide. God will always have the last word. Israel ignored him again and again to their damnation. 2 Kings 17:23, until the Lord removed Israel out of his sight, as he had said by all his servants the prophets, so was Israel carried away out of their own land to Assyria. Let me speak of Samaria. Samaria was the name of a city and a region. After Solomon died, Jeroboam ruled 10 tribes from Samaria with godless government, an imitation temple, and a perverted religion. It was a despicable alternative to true religion in Jerusalem. Jeroboam made all Israel to sin with pagan worship, including 2 golden calves. And eventually, Assyrians carried the Jews away and placed heathen citizens in Samaria with 1 Jewish priest per city. Today, Samaria is illicitly called the Palestinian West Bank, but Jesus will soon come back and reclaim Samaria to be his own. 2 Kings 17:24, the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon, Cutha, Ava, Hamath, Sepharvaim, and placed them in the cities of Samaria. So we're talking about population swap. I want to remind you today that having more than one God never adds up. You can't add other gods to our true God and come out well. After the Assyrians carried the Jews out of Israel, Assyrians filled the newly acquired cities. Once Jewish cities became heathen communities. The Bible said, Therefore the Lord sent lions among them, which slew some of them. They believed the lions came because they knew not the manner of the God of the land. The Assyrian king sent Jewish priests back to live among the heathen and teach them how to fear Jehovah. It sounds like a lot of modern Christians. They fear God, but they still love their worldly idols. You can't add other gods to the true God. It just doesn't add up. 2 Kings 17:41, these nations feared the Lord and served their graven images. That's despicable. Back in Moses' days, God sent fiery serpents to bite the Israelites because of their murmuring. God instructed Moses to make a brazen serpent and have the people look on it for their healing. Amazingly, almost 12 generations later, King Hezekiah found there were Jews still burning incense to that brazen serpent. It was idolatry. So Hezekiah destroyed it. He was a righteous king. When he did, God sent revival. I say to you today, you got any dead religious traditions that need to be destroyed? Things that are not biblical, things that are unscriptural, get rid of them. 2 Kings 18:4, he brake in pieces the brazen serpent that Moses had made, for unto those days the children of Israel did burn incense to it. He called it Nehushtan. It was a copper serpent. Let me speak of King Hezekiah of Judah. Hezekiah championed one of the greatest revivals in Israel's history. At a time when the apostate northern tribes had been hauled off into Assyrian captivity, and his own father Ahaz had recently been the most wicked of all Judah's kings, Hezekiah single-handedly turned the people back to God. He removed their high places where their idolatries were. He broke their images. He destroyed groves of idols. And he smote the Philistines all the way to Gaza and trusted God like no king before him. Can I tell you, anybody can have a revival. You just have to do what it takes. And that's what Hezekiah did. 2 Kings 18:7, the Lord was with him, and he prospered whithersoever he went forth. I want to talk about the prophetic implications of obedience. Both obedience and disobedience have prophetic implications. When the psalmist said, "The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord," the word "good" is not in the Hebrew text. That suggests that the steps of all men are ordered by the Lord. Whether or not you do His will, God indeed predetermines your destiny. If you do well, you will be accepted. If you do not well, sin lies at your door. Ask Cain. 2 Kings 18:11, the king of Assyria did carry away Israel unto Assyria, because they obeyed not the voice of the Lord their God. During that period, King Hezekiah received a vicious letter from the Assyrian king threatening to take control of all Israel, but Hezekiah had no might against him. So he took the Assyrian letter into the house of God, and he asked God to read the letter. That night, the angel of the Lord killed 185,000 Assyrian soldiers and saved Hezekiah and his people. God has solutions we can't even imagine. We need to give our problems to God like Hezekiah did. 2 Kings 19:14, and Hezekiah received the letter on the hand of the messengers, and he read it. And Hezekiah went up into the house of the Lord and spread it before the Lord. Take your problems to the Lord like that. The Assyrians carried away the 10 northern tribes of Israel. So when Rabshakeh brought threatenings from Assyrian king Sennacherib, King Hezekiah called the prophet Isaiah. Isaiah told Hezekiah not to be afraid of the Assyrians. He reminded Hezekiah that Sennacherib had not merely blasphemed Israel, but he had blasphemed the Holy One of Israel. God eventually destroyed Sennacherib. His own sons killed him. 2 Kings 19:36, so Sennacherib, king of Assyria, departed and dwelt at Nineveh. And it came to pass, as he was worshiping in the house of Nisroch his god, that Adrammelech and Sharezer his sons smote him with a sword. This is an example of your enemies being God's enemies, and God tends to them. King Hezekiah discovered that he was dying, and the prophet Isaiah came to tell him to set his house in order. Hezekiah turned his face to the wall and prayed to the Lord, weeping sorely. The word of the Lord told Isaiah to turn back and tell Hezekiah, I have heard thy prayers. I will add to thy days 15 years. Isaiah said, This sign shalt thou have. The shadow would go backward 10 degrees. Isaiah cried unto the Lord, and he brought the shadow 10 degrees backward. We should never accept defeat without a prayer of faith. The Bible in 2 Kings 20 verse 7 says, and he recovered. Hezekiah was healed because he prayed. Those are our lessons today. Thank you for joining me. May God bless you today and save your eternal soul in Jesus' name. I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. Please like and share and follow me on Facebook, Twitter, MeWe, Gab, CloudHub, BitChute, Rumble, YouTube, Telegram, Truth Social, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Visit my website at KenRaggio.com for thousands of pages of Bible articles on every subject. Subscribe to receive my daily Bible studies by email. Go to Amazon, search for books by Ken Raggio. You'll see my daily Bible companion, 5,000 lessons almost from every chapter of the Bible, 2-volume set, Old and New Testaments. Get the Daniel Prophecies, God's plan for the last days, 726 pages with footnotes, 175 photos, one of the most powerful prophecy teachings anywhere. Get the greatest doctrines of the Bible. Get Praying on Purpose, praying for results, how men prevail with God. Get Long Winding Road, my very personal story, and Treasures of Darkness, how to see the glory of God in your darkest trials. Click the link below if you want all 9 books for only $125 here in the United States only. And please donate through the link below, and then share these videos with your friends. And I'll see you next time. Good night.